Previously on the channel, we've discussed the inner workings of magic on Runeterra, the true nature of the celestial gods known as aspects, and the differences between them, Ascended, Darken, and Bakai. It should be noted that all of these videos are, at least in part, theories based on my understanding and interpretations of the lore that has been presented to us. While I acknowledge that not everything I've said in these videos is 100% airtight, I stick by the majority of my previous assessments. However, since those videos, we received a bit of new lore that does impact my stance on two particular characters, Kayle and Morgana. Many fans, including myself, have long believed that these two share the role of the current aspect of justice on Runeterra. However, thanks to the Darken saga revealing that Mahira is in fact still alive, that assumption has been called into question. After thinking the matter over much harder than anyone probably should and re-examining everything we know, I have come to one very simple conclusion. That these sisters are not in fact true aspects, but rather a form of Ascended. But let's back up a bit. For a very quick refresher, here's a basic rundown of what you need to know and understand. Ascended are people who undergo a special rite to become what are effectively demigods, while aspect hosts are those chosen to become the earthly vessels for Targon's celestial deities. The rite of ascension is, in essence, the process of pouring celestial magic on yourself in the hopes of achieving a higher state of being. Though it's a somewhat imperfect process that can lead to either death or transformation into a mad, disfigured being called a Bakai. By contrast, becoming the host of an aspect effectively means that you are borrowing the power of a cosmic deity, channeling them through your body. It's generally a safer process, but seemingly only lasts as long as you have the aspect's favor. That said, there are cases where the aspect may attempt to completely possess their host as well. This process appears to be somewhat similar to how the spirit walkers of the Freljord operate, including the risk of possession and corruption. The hosts of aspects do sometimes undergo slight physical transformations, but they're generally not as extreme as those who undergo ascension. However, there have been a few extreme cases in which an aspect and their host seem to merge completely. The only two examples we currently know of who have done this are Tayari, who merge with the aspect of the Traveler, and Mahira, who merge with the aspect of Justice. For those unaware, Mahira is the mother of Kayle and Morgana, who was chosen to become an aspect during the Rune Wars, while she was pregnant. After having her daughters, Mahira would eventually abandon her family to fulfill her newfound duties, presumably bringing judgment upon those who misuse the tremendous power of the world runes. Her husband, Keelam, would take his daughters to a settlement that would eventually become Demacia, hoping it would offer what remained of his family shelter from all the chaotic magics. Unfortunately for Keelam, while things seemed fine at first, the lives of his daughters would be changed forever when a pair of swords fell from the heavens. Morgana and Kayle would each take one, and in the process acquire tremendous celestial power, as well as a set of wings for each of them. This led many to assume that Mahira was no longer around, and so the aspect chose instead to divide its power between her daughters, possibly due to them inheriting some latent divinity from their mother. This assumption is seemingly bolstered by the fact that Kayle and Morgana wind up having different interpretations of what justice even entails, creating a schism between the sisters. I think we all know the story from here. The two fight, accidentally kill their father in the crossfire, and then go their separate ways. Kayle chooses to leave Demacia behind and goes to Targon in the hopes that she'll be able to achieve pure divinity by leaving her humanity behind, just like Mahira did. By contrast, Morgana shackles her wings and goes into hiding, only occasionally intervening to aid those who seek her out. Kayle believes that justice must be cold and dispassionate, that emotions cannot and should not affect one's judgment, and that anyone who disrupts order must be stricken down. Morgana, by contrast, believes that everyone deserves a second chance, and everyone should be given the opportunity to atone. One rejects her humanity while the other embraces it, and vice versa. Only by coming together can they truly become the aspect of justice. Except, again, Mahira is still alive and occupying that role. So, what does that mean for Kayle and Morgana? Again, I believe that they are a form of Ascended. They didn't use the sun disk, but they were changed by being exposed to celestial power. In fact, while the Ascended of Shurima were altered by the sun's energy, Twilight of the Gods shows us that it's possible to harness the power of other heavenly bodies for similar rites. Sure, the Moonfall ritual in Narima Zeth was used as a means of executing or reverting the so-called Sunborn, but who's to say it couldn't also raise up a normal mortal exposed to that power who hadn't already used another celestial body to ascend? In fact, if we take a look at the broader scope of Runeterra, we can see plenty of instances where people are transformed through all types of magic, not simply celestial. Brand was altered through the power of a world rune. Those who become adept in shadow magic can turn parts of their bodies into pure darkness. Hell, even Zareth is basically using his own warped ascension ritual that involves pumping people full of raw mana. Kayle and Morgana were transformed by Justice's power, and they do represent different versions of the same ideal, but they themselves are not truly aspects. Kayle strives to become one, though whether or not that's even possible is still up in the air. We don't currently know if a fully merged aspect can still possess other hosts, or if an ascended being can even become a host. But hopefully the rules will be clarified for us down the line. So, in short, exposing yourself to too much magic of any kind can result in all sorts of bizarre transformations. It can be as tame as changing your hair color, or as extreme as sprouting extra limbs. In some cases, your entire body can just become a mass of energy. Whatever Kayle and Morgana might be, I think we can all agree they probably got off lucky with just a set of wings.